Does the fine of £100,000 imposed on GB News represent a direct attack on free speech and journalism in the United Kingdom? Hello, Chakabatis. Welcome. You're asking the question of Hilary and moi, does the fine of £100,000 imposed by Ofcom, the Office of Communication, against GB News represent a direct attack on free speech and journalism in the United Kingdom? Now, we always, on your behalf, don't we, Hilary, try to research some more information, present them back reflecting your views, and hopefully you'll get in touch with us and let us know what you think via our email. How does this question arise? £100,000, a fine, it seems an astronomical sum. Ofcom, the Office of Communication, have a broad range of responsibilities, and one of them concerns broadcast media and the requirement of broadcast media, especially in a democracy, to demonstrate that they are being fair and impartial. And in this particular instance, Ofcom have decided GB News have breached their responsibility to be impartial. Earlier this year, GB News presented a programme called The People's Forum. Yes, why are you saying Tony Blair? Yeah, no, I've not forgotten, Hilary. We'll come to Tony Blair a little bit later on, but The People's Forum. And the format of this show, well, there was an audience on three sides, all directly asking questions to politicians. But this was the first one. It was called The People's Forum, the first of a series. Was it? Why is this important? It wasn't called the Prime Minister's Forum, the Leader of the Opposition's Forum. It was called The People's Forum, which indicates that possibly there was going to be a series. Now, when you look at the impartiality rules on Ofcom's website, it says that if a broadcaster is going to do a timely, series of programmes that are linked, then overall, the impartiality rules won't have been breached. So it appears when we've looked at the information, the intention of GB News was to have a series, The People's Forum, featuring, whenever the series happened, different politicians, all facing questions from the audience. But in this instance, apparently, GB News spoke with the opposition, Keir Starmer's office, and they were thinking about it. And very quickly, Rishi Sunak's office came back and said, yes, we'll do it. So on the basis that they said they were going to do it, and GB News thought that, the Labour Party were going to do it, we've now got a series. So they said, let's go ahead, we'll have the People's Forum. And the first one took place, and of course, Rishi got inundated with questions, though we did a video about it at the time, didn't we, Hilary? Because Rishi ignored the questions sent in by the viewers in the box. They looked at the box and then answered another question that they chose. Not quite the people directing things, was it? And of course, the people in the People's Forum come first. The whole idea, the concept of GB News, a series. Now, if it was a series, why had GB News been fined? Because clearly there was going to be linked and timely programmes. But it appears that, when the first programme was broadcast, supposedly of this series, 500 odd persons got in touch and said that was biased. It wasn't impartial. But of course, the second programme hadn't taken place. It was planned. But then, because Ofcom announced they were going to investigate, apparently the Labour Party said, whilst Ofcom is investigating, we can't go ahead with the show. So the series didn't happen. But it was planned as a series, so we've now got a conundrum here, haven't we? It does seem as though the fine was almost of Ofcom's own making. But how times change. You see, memory, history is a wonderful thing. Let's go back to 2000. Yes, you mentioned Tony Blair. Now, of course, Ofcom only came into existence in 2003, and there were 5 other groups who, well, set aside to form Ofcom, weren't they? Yes, put them on the screen, Hillary. So Ofcom will say, well, of course, it's different rules and regulations now, but are those new rules and regulations, if indeed there has been any change, in the best interests of the broadcast media in the United Kingdom? Because back in 2000, Yorkshire Television hosted a programme, it was broadcast live from Yorkshire TV, of Meet the Prime Minister. And it was Tony Blair in front of an audience on 3 sides, standing on a podium, asking questions and answering questions, and it got quite heated, didn't it, Hillary? Yes, we know, because we were there. Alistair Campbell was there as well. We don't recall there were comments at that time saying this breaches impartiality. I mean, it went ahead. So have things changed? Because that Tony Blair programme went ahead and it was clearly Meet the Prime Minister. I mean, the headlines in some of the newspapers and the subjects, well, the NHS hasn't changed. And Tony Blair saying, well, they didn't really want to appear as a left-wing version of Margaret Thatcher. That's not what Tony was about. So clearly, the whole programme was promoting the Prime Minister. So that was 2000. Is it convenient to forget that? But if we think about that and think where we are today, well, does now, given that apparently it was called the People's Forum and the intention was going to be a series, isn't the very large punitive fine of £100,000 really saying that Ofcom has decided, well, which has generated your question, it represents a direct attack on free speech and journalism in the United Kingdom? Now we hear that GB News are going to appeal this fine, so we'll see what the outcome is. But what are your thoughts? Do let us know. Do you think it was a deliberate breach, or was it one of those things that, well, it was the way the cookie crumbled at the time? But of course, the one thing that is important, especially in this day and age, is that the freedom of the press is maintained. Please let us know what you think, and if you're in the mood, hit the subscribe button and join us again. Thank you.